It's about feeling hollow, like a shell of the person you once were, as if someone has carved out the core of who you are and left you with nothing but echoes. It's about the slow erosion of who you are, piece by piece, until you barely recognize yourself in the mirror. You stare at your reflection, searching for the spark that used to light up your eyes, but all you see is emptiness staring back. You start to believe the lies whispered to you, the ones that say you're not enough, that you're too much, that you'll never be worthy of kindness or respect. These lies seep into your thoughts, twisting your perception of yourself until you can't tell where their voice ends and yours begins. You find yourself apologizing for things you didn't do, for emotions you're told you shouldn't feel, for simply existing in a way that displeases someone else. You apologize for your laughter, your tears, your silence, your voice, until every part of you feels like a mistake. The confusion becomes your constant companion. One moment, you're told you're loved, cherished, needed. The next, you're ignored, dismissed, or made to feel like a burden. The emotional whiplash leaves you dizzy, unsure of what's real and what's manipulation. You start to second-guess everything. Was that comment meant to hurt you, or are you just overreacting? Was that silence a punishment, or are they just busy? Is this love, or is it control disguised as care? The lines blur, and the weight of it all presses down on your chest, making it hard to breathe. You feel like you're walking on a tightrope, constantly balancing between their approval and your own sanity. One wrong step, and you're falling, spiraling into self-doubt and despair. You try to speak up, to set boundaries, to say, "This hurts me." But the response is always the same. You're too sensitive. You're imagining things. You're the one with the problem. And so, you retreat. You swallow your pain, your anger, your truth. You learn to tiptoe around their moods, their demands, their expectations. You become smaller, quieter, less you. But here's the thing. You don't have to live this way. The pain may be invisible, but it's not insignificant. The scars may not show, but they are real. And the voice in your head that tells you you're not enough? It's not yours. You deserve to feel safe. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to take up space in this world without apology. Emotional abuse doesn't define you. It doesn't have to be the end of your story. Because beneath the weight of all those lies, your truth still exists. It's buried, yes, but it's there, waiting for you to dig through the rubble and reclaim it. You are not the sum of their words or their actions. You are not the silence they forced upon you. You are not the shadow they tried to turn you into. You are a flame, flickering but unextinguished. And no matter how hard they try to blow you out, you can still burn bright. You can still rise. You can still be you. And over time, this constant state of hypervigilance takes its toll. Your brain, designed to handle short bursts of stress, is now drowning in a flood of cortisol, the stress hormone. It's like living in a storm that never ends, where every moment feels like you're bracing for the next blow, even when the air seems calm. This isn't just about feeling anxious or on edge. This is about your brain rewiring itself to survive. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, reasoning, and self-control, starts to weaken. You find it harder to think clearly, to trust your instincts, to make even the simplest decisions without second-guessing yourself. It's as if the mental map you once relied on has been erased, leaving you lost in a maze of doubt and confusion. And then there's the hippocampus, the part of your brain that helps you process memories and emotions. Under the weight of emotional abuse, it begins to shrink. Memories become foggy. You struggle to recall the good moments, but the painful ones? They're etched into your mind, playing on repeat like a broken record. You can't escape them. The sharp words, the cold silences, the moments when you felt so small, so insignificant, so wrong. But here's the most chilling part. Emotional abuse doesn't just change how your brain functions. It changes how you see yourself. The constant criticism, the gaslighting, the manipulation, it all chips away at your self-worth until you start to believe the narrative they've created about you. You begin to think, maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe I am the problem. Maybe I don't deserve better. And that's the goal of emotional abuse, to make you doubt yourself so deeply that you stop trusting your own reality. It's a psychological prison, and the bars are made of words, silence, and twisted versions of love. You're trapped in a cycle where their approval feels like oxygen, and their disapproval feels like suffocation. But here's what they don't want you to know. Your brain is resilient. It can heal. It can rebuild. The first step is recognizing the abuse for what it is. It's naming the manipulation, the control, the cruelty. It's understanding that the way they treat you is not a reflection of your worth, but a reflection of their own brokenness. The second step is understanding that the damage done to your mind is not your fault. You didn't ask for this. You didn't cause this. You are not the problem. And the third step? It's reclaiming your power. One thought, one boundary, one act of self-love at a time. It's learning to trust yourself again, to listen to that quiet voice inside you that knows the truth, even when it feels buried under layers of doubt. Because while emotional abuse may have changed your brain, it doesn't get to define your future. You are more than the lies you've been told. You are more than the pain you've endured. And your story doesn't end here. Stay with me, because we're just getting started. We're going to explore how to break free, how to heal, and how to rebuild the life and the mind you deserve. We'll talk about how to silence the voice of your abuser and amplify your own. We'll uncover the tools to rewire your brain, to strengthen your sense of self, and to create boundaries that protect your peace. And we'll remind you, over and over, that you are not alone, and that healing is not only possible, but inevitable, when you choose yourself. This is your turning point. This is where you take back control. This is where you begin to rise. And as you shrink, they grow. Their words become louder, their control tighter, and your world smaller. You find yourself trapped in a cycle of self-doubt, where every thought is filtered through their criticism, every action weighed against their approval. It's like living in a hall of mirrors, where every reflection is distorted, and you can't find the way out. But here's the thing. This isn't just about memory or anxiety. This is about identity. Emotional abuse doesn't just distort your reality. It steals your sense of self. You begin to lose touch with who you are. The things you once loved, the dreams you once chased, the confidence you once carried, all of it starts to fade. You become a stranger to yourself, living in a body that feels like a shell, a mind that feels like a maze. You look in the mirror and wonder, who is this person staring back at me? The answer feels just out of reach, like a shadow you can't quite grasp. And the worst part? You start to believe this is normal. You convince yourself that everyone feels this way, that this is just how relationships are. But it's not. This is not love. This is not care. This is control. And control thrives in silence. It thrives when you don't speak up, when you don't question, when you don't fight back. But silence is not safety. Silence is surrender. So, what happens when you break that silence? What happens when you start to question the narrative they've built around you? What happens when you begin to trust yourself again? It's not easy. It's messy, it's painful, and it's terrifying. But it's also liberating. Because when you start to reclaim your voice, you take back your power. When you start to trust your memory, you rebuild your reality. And when you start to see yourself clearly, you realize something profound. You are not the problem. You never were. The fog will lift. The memories will return. And the person you thought you lost? They're still there, waiting for you to find them. This is your mind. This is your life. And no one gets to control it but you. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to breathe freely again. To wake up without the weight of their expectations pressing down on your chest. To make a decision without hearing their voice in your head. Second-guessing every choice. To look in the mirror and see you. Not the version of you they tried to create, but the real, unapologetic, beautifully flawed you. It's possible. It's within your reach. But it starts with one step. Choosing yourself. Choosing to believe that your voice matters. Choosing to trust that your feelings are valid. Choosing to fight for the life you deserve, even when it feels impossible. Because you are not a shadow. You are not a shell. You are not a reflection of their insecurities. You are a person, full of worth, full of potential, full of light. And no amount of darkness can extinguish that. The journey ahead won't be linear. There will be days when the old doubts creep back in, when the weight feels too heavy, when the silence feels safer. But even on those days, remember this. You are stronger than the lies they told you. You are braver than the fear they instilled in you. And you are worth more than the pain they tried to bury you under. This is your mind. This is your life. And no one gets to control it but you. So, take a deep breath. Feel the ground beneath your feet. And take that first step. Because the person you've been waiting for? It's you. The first step is recognizing the patterns. The way they twist your words, the way they make you feel small, the way they keep you tethered to their approval. It's like pulling back a curtain and seeing the strings they've been pulling all along. Suddenly, the confusion starts to make sense. The emotional whiplash, the constant second-guessing, the feeling of walking on eggshells, it wasn't random. It was calculated. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. The manipulation, the control, the lies. They lose their power when you shine a light on them. It's like watching a magician's trick unravel once you know how it's done. The illusion fades, and what's left is the truth. This was never about you. It was always about them. And then comes the hardest part. Letting go of the belief that you're the problem. Because you're not. You never were. The abuser's words may have echoed in your mind for years, but they don't own your truth. Your worth isn't determined by their approval. Your value isn't measured by their validation. You are enough. You always have been. And as you begin to rebuild, something incredible happens. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that felt so clouded, so broken, starts to regain its strength. You begin to trust your decisions again. You start to see choices where you once saw dead ends. And slowly, you reclaim the power they tried to take from you. But healing isn't linear. There will be days when the old doubts creep back in. Days when you question yourself, when you feel the weight of their words pressing down on you. And that's okay. Healing isn't about erasing the pain. It's about learning to carry it differently. It's about building a new narrative, one where you are the hero of your story, not the victim. And you don't have to do it alone. Reach out to someone who sees you, who believes you, who reminds you of your strength when you can't see it yourself. Therapy, support groups, trusted friends, they can be your lifeline, your mirror, your proof that you are not broken beyond repair. Because here's the thing. Emotional abuse may have changed your brain, but it doesn't get to own your future. You are not defined by what was done to you. You are defined by what you choose to do next. And every step you take toward healing, every boundary you set, every truth you speak, every act of self-love, is a step toward reclaiming the life you deserve. The journey is long, yes, but it's yours. And it's worth it. Imagine, for a moment, what it will feel like to wake up one day and realize the weight is gone. To feel the sun on your face and know, deep in your bones, that you are free. To hear their voice in your head and recognize it for what it is. A lie, a ghost, a shadow of the past. That day is coming. It may not be tomorrow, or next week, or even next year. But it's coming. Because you are stronger than you know. You are braver than you feel. And you are more resilient than they ever gave you credit for. So keep going. Keep fighting. Keep believing in the person you are becoming. The journey is long, yes. But it's yours. And it's worth it. You are worth the mornings where you wake up and choose yourself, even when it feels hard. You are worth the nights where you remind yourself that their words no longer hold power over you. You are worth every moment of peace, every spark of joy, and every ounce of love you give to yourself. Healing isn't about forgetting the pain. It's about using it as a stepping stone to something greater. It's about turning the lessons of survival into tools for thriving. It's about realizing that the cracks they left in you are where the light gets in. And that light, it's yours. It's the strength you didn't know you had, the courage you found in your darkest moments, and the hope that kept you going even when it felt impossible. You are not just reclaiming your mind, your heart, and your life. You are rediscovering the person you were always meant to be. The person who laughs freely, loves deeply, and lives boldly. The person who knows their worth and refuses to let anyone dim their light. So take that step. Reach out for help if you need it. Speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. Set boundaries, even if it feels uncomfortable. And most importantly, be kind to yourself. Because healing isn't a race. It's a journey. And every step you take, no matter how small, is a step toward the life you deserve. You are not just surviving. You are thriving. You are growing. You are becoming. And the world is waiting for the incredible person you are, and the even more incredible person you are becoming. So don't stop. Keep going. Keep healing. Keep rising. Because you are unstoppable. And your story is far from over. Imagine for a moment the version of you that exists on the other side of this journey. The version of you who wakes up without the weight of their words pressing on your chest. The version of you who walks into a room and doesn't shrink, but stands tall, unapologetically taking up space. The version of you who looks in the mirror and sees not the scars, but the strength they represent. That version of you is already here, waiting to be fully realized. Every time you choose yourself, every time you speak your truth, every time you refuse to let their narrative define you, you're bringing that version of yourself to life. And yes, there will be days when it feels like you're taking one step forward and two steps back. Days when the old wounds ache, when the doubts creep in, when the journey feels too long, too hard, too much. But even on those days, remember this. You are still moving forward. You are still healing. You are still becoming. Because healing isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about showing up for yourself, even when it's messy. It's about forgiving yourself for the days you stumble and celebrating yourself for the days you soar. And as you keep going, something beautiful happens. The pain that once felt all-consuming starts to lose its grip. The voice that once told you you weren't enough grows quieter. Until one day, you realize it's gone. And in its place is a new voice. Your voice. Strong. Clear. Unshakable. This is your time. This is your life. And no one gets to write the next chapter but you. So keep going. Keep healing. Keep rising. Because you are unstoppable. And your story is far from over. The world needs the light only you can bring. The world needs the strength only you can offer. The world needs you. Not the version of you they tried to create, but the real, raw, radiant you. So don't stop. Don't give up. Don't let anyone, including yourself, tell you that you're not worth it. Because you are. You always have been. And you always will be. Keep going. Your story is just beginning.